Hello and blessings, my beautiful souls. So today I have a subject that is a little on the raw side that I wish to discuss with you. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the reverse Empress and the Emperor and how it is that I have been sitting in this energetic space and how it is that I have started to fully understand exactly where I am in life through this unique lens and how it is that I have reached this point of transformation. And so maybe grab a cup of tea, folks, because we might be here for a minute and this is going to be quite conversational. So as I am a lover of all things tarot, a tarot teacher, a tarot author, and a professional tarot reader, I like to look at the world through a lens that is 100% tarot related because it is something that I understand and I connect with. And so as I'm going through these challenges and these difficulties in my own personal life, I couldn't help but lean into my tarot practice and my understanding of the tarot to help navigate the transformation that I was actively, without even realizing it, going through. Like I was transforming already when I'd first captured this idea in my mind. So I remember exactly where I was. I was in the gym, actually. I was in the gym and I had been recommended this beautiful podcast by a lady by the name of Kelly Brogan. If you know who Kelly Brogan is and you partake in her lovely podcast, comment down below so that we can have a little chat about it, okay? But I was listening to this recommended podcast. Gordon of Rune Soup recommended her to me initially because of where I was when I had separated from my ex and how I was in that headspace of domestic violence and this victim mindset and just this anger and this personal revolt. Like it was, I was rage. I was 100% rage at one point. Like it was burning me from the inside out. I felt consumed by this absolute scorn, if you will. And that is where I first connected with this concept. As I was listening to various podcasts by Kelly Brogan, I came across such subjects, as victim mindset, which I was like, oh, I'm freaking there. And this idea that absolutely blew my goddamn mind, which was this concept that one can inherit 14 lifetimes worth of generational shame. Just blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. And I love that. I love that. I love knowing that. I love understanding that. It blew my mind. I had no idea this was even possible, but it opened up this wellspring of curiosity. And so I did what my ADHD brain likes to do. I hyperfixated on it for weeks. For damn weeks. And I'm deep in there. I'm researching this. I'm researching victim mindset and inherited shame and such concepts of containers and the concept of a container and how, and this is an analogy that was used throughout this podcast that I was listening to, and how you have to set up containers for each experience in your life, and how, you know, it's your responsibility to set up these energetic containers. And when you experience a sense of no after you've set up those energetic containers and you've entered this space, if something happens and you experience a no within yourself, then it's your opportunity to step out of that space, to say no. It's about boundaries. It's about learning to say and meaning no without any kind of, oh, so sorry, no, I can't. It's just no. It's just beautiful no. And so throughout this exploration of such subjects as inherited shame, victim mindset, this internal rage, this feeling that I had been so profoundly wronged and I couldn't let it go. Like I was like a dog with a bone, that Taurus energy that we're so fixed. And when I see it, I anchor into it and I'm there. I'm living and breathing this rage. It was just, oh my gosh. It got so unhealthy. And I was spiraling like this because there was nothing I could do to quell the fire, the rage, the scorn, and nobody understood it. Nobody understood why I was so angry. Well, they understood why, they just didn't understand how it is that I can sit in that space for such a long time. And I'm like, clearly you don't know how we Scorpio rising Taurus sun people roll. Like, I could be like this for the rest of my goddamn life. And I was okay with that idea. I was okay, but it was depleting me. It was absolutely draining this vital energy. It was just, and I felt like I was being hollowed out. And I didn't know it at the time that that was what I was feeling. I just felt tired. I was irritable. I felt disconnected. I started to interact in the world with this, excuse my language, this fuck off kind of energy, right? I just had no time. I was short with people. I wasn't rude, but I was abrupt. And most people know me to be quite direct anyway. I have a very direct way of speaking, and I don't beat around the bush. And if I feel it, I say it, but I always make sure to consider the other person as I'm saying this. I'm like, is this the type of person that can accept this? Can they hold this energy right now? And if I feel at any point that they're not it, then I don't. I really know how to judge whom I speak to and how I should speak to those people. It's a very intuitive thing. I'm fairly good with that interpersonal connection, but I do not curb myself for people, and I don't ever sit on something like, oh, I really wanted to say this to that person. I will say it. And I've never regretted being able to speak my truth like that. But I was no longer speaking my truth. I was speaking my vitriol, and I was directing it at people. And there at the gym, I'm listening to Kelly Brogan, who is a psychologist by trade, I guess you could say. And she was talking about this victim mentality, this victim mindset, and just the aspect of woman that I needed that medicine at that time. I really, really needed it. But it manifested in my tarot brain as the reversed Empress. I've always known that the aspect of reverse Empress is right there when a woman is scorned, right? And I felt scorned. I felt like, how could you? I felt like, you son of a bitch, like how could you? And all the things, do you know what I mean? All the things. I just felt so wronged. I felt betrayed. I felt lied to. I felt taken advantage of. I felt abused. I just felt so much internalized rage. Like it was rage. And there I was. And I'm like, oh, the Empress. People forget how powerful the archetype of reverse Empress is. And I've got to say that this was a fantastic reminder because she has depth. I could have kept going. Had my beautiful friend Gordon, Rune Soup Gordon, was like, you got to listen to this podcast. I trust him implicitly when he recommends these types of things to me. So I'm like, yeah, all right. So I decided that instead of like listening to music or something kind of to pump me up at the gym, I would listen to this podcast. And I moved through my workout that day, and I nourished my brain and I nourished my body. And I started to really stop, to take a big step back and see exactly where I was. I didn't realize at the time that I had already embraced the archetypal energy of the Emperor. I had, throughout this haze of emotion that was the reversed Empress, I had established a routine. And it was a hard routine. I went from recovering from open heart surgery, being 100% sedentary, having been in heart failure for the last 8 years, not knowing it. There was a lot of anger towards that as well, mind you. But I came from this space and I decided, you know what? I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to commit to a routine for myself. I'm going to join the gym. I joined the gym in April. Okay. What's the date today? The 26th of July. It's a Friday. So the 26th of July, I joined the gym in April. I have been going without fail every single week, with the exception of a time where I had to go and visit my sister in Brisbane and I was in a totally different state. But I have been going to the gym every single day, 5 days a week. 5 days a week, some days 6 days, some days 4 days, but every week I have been showing up for myself and I have been doing it. And I'm weightlifting, I'm not stuffing around. I'm trying to get my body strong again. I'm trying to heal the fatigue and the lethargy that's inside of me. And I'm trying to process my reverse Empress rage. And as I've discovered, the reverse Empress, the Emperor can handle the reverse Empress. He's strong enough. He is robust enough. He is centered and grounded enough. He's authoritative enough to handle this without being disrespectful. So as I am processing all of this rage, I'm also showing up for myself in this totally different capacity to that which I am accustomed to. That is my Emperor inside going, let's do this, girl. Like, let's hit it. Okay. And slowly, little by little, I have started to move through the reverse Empress. I have reached a point now, months into my gym journey, that I feel so much more peace. I feel so much more peace. And I feel this sense of unique calm. Not yesterday, but the day before, my sister accidentally crashed my car. She was all upset over it, because I think she thought I was going to go ballistic. I'd moved through that. Don't worry about it. I have insurance. It is what it is. There's no point in upsetting yourself. And I was incredibly compassionate, incredibly centered. Oh, yes, I was a little bit annoyed, mostly because this is the second time she's crashed my car, but I wasn't enraged. Whereas rewind the clock a couple of months, and the calendar as well, and anything that happened, my reaction to it, I was fully reactive. I was volatile, if you will. And I wasn't doing anyone any favors. And I was still showing up for people. I was still being a good friend. I was still being a good parent. But when I didn't have to interact in these responsible roles that I have created within my life, I was extremely volatile. I was driving in a car with friends saying, I'm not interested in men anymore. I have taken a vow of celibacy. That is not a joke. I have. Because it occurred to me throughout this healing process that I have never been single, not properly single. And how it is that I have always looked to a man, or a partner in this instance, a partner, to provide me with that sense of intimacy that I am looking for. And yet, the way that I feel here in Australia particularly, I'm not sure if this is something that you as a man or woman have experienced in your own part of the world, but here in Australia, the way that you experience intimacy is typically through sex. And I was tired of that construct. I come from Brazil. We are a very intimate culture. The way that we say hello to people is by giving them kisses on their cheek, by hugging, touching, feeling. We're very open and passionate people without being hypersexualized or involved sexually. And so I decided that I was going to take a leaf out of Kelly Brogan's book, and I was going to explore the parameters of my own unique sexuality as a woman, and how it is that I personally want to experience pleasure. And this is where I really felt the Empress step in, because she's all about pleasure. And I mean this in a wholesome way. I'm not necessarily talking about an over-sexualized way, but pleasure in saying yes, in saying no, in understanding the parameters of my body, in loving my form. And I realized that my self-esteem was quite low because I had attracted a person that I wouldn't have normally gone for because I don't know, because I was in that headspace, because I didn't trust enough in myself, or I wasn't loving myself enough. I decided that I was going to reach out and find someone who could help me love me, right? And I wasn't in a great headspace. I had ended a 12-year marriage, and I'd been not really dedicated to any kind of healing for the 2 years, and I was still dating in that 2-year period. I was hooking up with people, and not in a promiscuous way, but I was on the prowl, so to speak. And what I realized is that I've never really spent that much time with me in understanding who I am. I've never really understood what I like. I've just been with people. I've always been in relationships, and I no longer felt satisfied with that concept. And that in itself was really, really eye-opening for me. Taking this vow of celibacy till December of this year, I took the vow of celibacy about 2 months ago, so I'm talking about it now. So it's a good chunk of time to just not even indulge sexually, not even have like a one-night stand or a hookup with anyone, just really, really focus on myself. I am definitely not in the headspace for a relationship. I do not have enough of myself. I'm not in possession of enough of myself, but I am getting there. And that's the part that I'm really, really enjoying, is this connection with the archetype of the Empress. And understanding how I can truly love myself and how I can make myself a priority. All this energy and attention that I give to a lover, or I've given to a lover in the past, I have now that opportunity to give that to myself. And while that might seem very simple to you, wherever you are in this world and wherever you are in your healing journey, of course, yes, self-love. Self-love has never been a concept that I have been terribly interested in, because I find the terminology of the word self-love exceptionally overused. And I'm a Scorpio rising, so everything just has to be harder. So with that in mind, sorry, my phone rang for a little bit there. So with that in mind, I have come full circle. I now wake up, I sit down, I light my candle, I light my incense, I say my blessings for both. Every morning I do this, with the exception of the weekends. Days of the week, Monday through to Friday, I do this. I light my candle, I say my blessings, I call in my gods, guides, guardians, ancestors, my Orisha. I light my incense and I ask for the smoke of this incense to bless and consecrate and clear out this space so that I may think and breathe creatively, It's a nice little moment for me. And then I sit there and I journal every day. I sit there and I journal. Sometimes I do it over the weekend as well. It just depends. I'm fixed with a 5-day pattern. I'm a 5-day pattern for going to the gym and training with weights. I'm a 5-day pattern with journaling. Over the weekend, I still light my candle and I light my incense, but I listen to music and I'll do art instead. And I'm focused on skincare. I'm focused on nutrition right now and really nourishing my body in ways that I don't think I've ever cared enough about myself to have done. I have a propensity to be an emotional eater. I know that there are some of you out there going, I hear you, girl. Like, I freaking hear you. And it's hard when you're an emotional eater and you use food as a crutch. I never was. I became an emotional eater once I'd had children. And my life had changed so dramatically, I didn't know how to cope with it, so I decided I would just eat. It's funny, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? And I'm interested in my skincare now, and I'm really, really interested in my scalp care. Like right now, you can see it. It looks really slick back. I've actually got a rosemary oil treatment just sitting on my head from early this morning. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm going to wash this out this evening, and I'm going to put a face mask on, and I'm sitting in this space. I'm learning languages. I'm learning Japanese. One day I'd like to travel to Japan. I'm obsessed with ink and good paper, so I want to go to Japan at one point. Just an idea, and I want to prepare myself. I want to prepare myself for that adventure, and I have the opportunity to do that now. I was drinking a lot. I was having a lot of fun. I was in reverse Empress, and she was dancing with the devil card. If you know what I mean, if you're a tarot person and you like to think tarot the way that I do, it was reckless abandon. There was just, I couldn't satiate. I was hungry. I was hungry for like a dopamine hit, and my ADHD brain was in the negative. But as soon as I started to really connect with wisdom, that made me see myself from the outside looking in. I saw everything from a totally different perspective. I saw how I was using my pain and sitting in that victim headspace, that victim mindset, and using it as a crutch to somehow excuse my toxic behavior, my overtly emotional, reactive. We have a term in Australia that we use, but it's not appropriate for the camera. And so because of that, I've come full circle. I can sit here and I can actively unpack this with you now and talk to you about how I sat in the reverse Empress, and then I've slowly transformed myself into the upright Empress in ways that I had never traveled before. I'd never traveled those ways before. I've never done the gym with so much tenacity, weightlifting, and like really showing up for myself and really moving through this anger. And through these months that I have been training, I have worked through the anger. I've worked through the rage. I'm no longer reactive. I'm happy. I find that I'm really happy. And I wake up, and when I journal about my mood and I do my gratitude journaling for the morning, which is just a couple of lines, I always, lock my mood in and register my mood, and then I go to gratitude, and then I talk a little bit about what I want from the day, and I write a little letter to the universe, that kind of vibe, It's a really pretty journaling system. It's very feminine. And I just, oh my gosh, I've come full circle, and it really made me realize how it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you can shift your perspective, if you can find a way, and it's not easy. It's not easy. I was fortunate in that I have a friend that I adore and respect who just said, hey, I think you'd really get a lot out of Kelly Brogan. And Reclamation Radio, I think, is the name of her podcast. Because at the time I was talking to him specifically about this issue that I was having with my ex and how it had made me feel. He's like, you know what? I just listened to this podcast and it was just a connected experience. You know what I mean? And I just love having these magical, intuitive, intense connections with people where we're on the same page, orbiting something very similar. And it's just such a beautiful experience to be able to have and share. And I've got to say, I'm so grateful to Gordon for just having introduced me to Kelly Brogan, because her podcast, a couple of the ones that I had listened to early on in my transformation journey, really helped to solidify a concept in my mind. And that was that as a woman that holds both masculine and feminine within me, I'm in a rather masculine era. I was in a rather masculine era, actually. I was a do-it-yourself. I'm a single mother and I run a property here. and I'm outside dealing with chickens, the wood. I'm trying to fix things. I'm trying to make sure that everything is running smoothly. I'm fueling up the generator. I'm organizing services to be done. I've got a team coming by next weekend to bring down a tree. Like, that's me in my organizational masculine headspace. I have boots on, leather gloves on. I have a knife in my back pocket. I've got a hat on my head, and if it's a hot day, I'll have a beer in my hand. That's me and my masculine. But then I realized that I have to counterbalance that. I have to disconnect, step inside, have a shower, deal with my skin, like really nourish my skin, nourish my body, deal with my beautiful scalp, prepare my hair, make a nice bed, listen to a book, do some art, dance, learn a language. It's such a nice balance that I have been able to formulate, create, construct, there you go, for myself. And I don't think that I could have gotten this far without my understanding of the tarot, quite frankly, and how the shapes that these archetypes occupy within my life, how they showed up for me. That's the beautiful thing about tarot, is that a tarot card is multifaceted, and I was experiencing a few different facets of both of these cards. Like I said, I'd also had a little dance with the devil, and I was really looking at it through this tarot lens that I'm deeply respectful for the tarot, which is why this was easier for me to see it this way, because I understand it so intricately, so intrinsically. And I've got to say that I started doing readings with this concept in mind. I was pulling out the Empress and the Emperor, putting them smack bang in the middle of my reading, and then pulling cards. And just throwing a bone out there. Like, hey universe, show me a blessing. Where can I go today? What should I focus on today? And really listening to the wisdom. Once a week I would do that. I'm not an overreader. So I've come full circle now, and I can honestly say I'm sitting here today, finished 5 days at the gym. I did another glute day today. Good times. My ankle straps for my cable kickbacks arrived today, so I'm like, yee! That's a personal little joy for me. I've just had a nice protein-rich, nourishing post-gym workout, and I decided that I was going to sit down and do this video because so much has changed for me. So much has changed for me from when I did my video about domestic violence and recovering from open heart surgery to where I am now. I feel like a totally different person. And I love that. I love that. I love it so much because I've been waiting. I've been waiting to come alive again. And I'm no longer as upset as I was that my heart issue had gone undiagnosed since birth. They found it because I was in there for an ADHD medication assessment. I'm not yet medicated for ADHD. I don't think they will ever medicate me because I've had heart surgery. It's really frustrating. That's something that's off to the side there somewhere, and I'm still pursuing it, but it's slow going. But instead of looking at that and crying about it like I did when I was told in the doctor's office, I'm just like, okay, it will be what it will be. It is what it is, and it will happen when it happens. And if it doesn't, I'm still intent on living a really good life. And it's because of that I've come full circle, and I've healed that reverse Empress energy. And I've got to say, learning to be like a big daddy to yourself is a super unique experience. When I say that I've been working with the reverse Empress and the Emperor, I mean that, okay? To be a daddy to yourself and just go, what are you doing? Like, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, remember who you are. Like, it was a revolutionary experience from a psychological and an emotional aspect for myself. It was intense, and I'm so grateful to have come full circle and to be able to sit here and talk to you about this experience. Some of you may connect with it, some of you may not understand it, some of you may be inspired by it. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I just felt like sharing this story with you. I felt like showing you how the tarot can really move through a person, through intense experiences in a person's life. And we often associate our intense experiences to cards like the Devil, the Death card, the Tower card, the Three of Swords, and so on and so forth. But we often look at the Empress as quite the sweet card. And it was good for me to remember how deep the Empress can be in her reverse state, and how it was very Moana. And I forget the name of the goddess in the cartoon Moana, actually. Tafiti, I think it was. They removed her heart, so she turned into a fire beast. I'm like, I felt it. And because I have a 9-year-old daughter who loves Moana, we watched that and I recognized that that was an aspect that I was experiencing as well. I'm like, I feel you, girl. I feel you. And I've just found that having been able to take a big step back and having been able to really understand who I am, where I was, how I was feeling, to be able to acknowledge how stuck I was on one facet of my life. Like, this is just a chapter. My story is not even close to being done. And it was just a great reminder that a lot more is to come, a lot more adventure, a lot more goodness. And if I can remain in a really constructive headspace like I am right now, I'm destined for a better life, and one where I have stronger boundaries and more personal authority in place. And that is everything I could ever ask for. And so, my beautiful souls, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this extremely rambly, quite emotional, very raw, very genuine video. Please respect it. Please just respect it. No nasty messages, okay? No nasty comments if you can bear it. But thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you if you can relate in any way to anything that I have said in this video. And with all that said and done, I'm wishing you so much love, luck, peace, and joy. Take care of yourself, and I hope to chat to you again soon. Mwah. Bye.